Welcome back to the channel, USA Coins 69, Coin Lovers and Treasure Hunters. Today, we're diving into one of the most overlooked and fascinating coins in American currency history, the 1965 Washington quarter dollar. At first glance, it looks like any ordinary quarter you'd find in your pocket or change jar, but what many people don't realize is that this particular coin comes from a turning point in United States coinage, and some rare versions of it can be worth an unbelievable amount of money. So if you've got old quarters lying around, or you like checking your change, don't miss a second of this, because what we're about to uncover might surprise you. The year 1965 marked a massive shift in how quarters were made in the United States. Before 1965, quarters were made of 90% silver and 10% copper. Silver prices started rising, and the U.S. Mint made the major decision to remove silver from the quarter and replace it with a clad composition of copper and nickel. Because of this transition, 1,965 quarters land in a unique historical zone. Some silver planchets from previous years accidentally got mixed in during production, and these rare errors are where things get incredibly exciting. Most people don't know that an ordinary-looking 1965 quarter might not be ordinary at all. Now here's what makes it even more interesting. You may already know that quarters after 1964 were no longer supposed to contain silver, and officially, mint marks were removed from coins starting in 1965 to help discourage coin hoarding. But there are some extremely rare transitional errors, off-metal strikes, and a few unusual varieties involving leftover silver planchets and experimental minting that collectors go crazy for. Imagine holding a quarter that was never meant to exist according to the mint's own policies. That's the kind of rarity that can turn a tiny coin into a treasure. Collectors pay special attention to edge color, weight, and sound when hunting for rare 1965 quarters. A genuine silver transitional error from 1965 will weigh slightly less than the standard copper-nickel clad version. If the edge looks uniformly silver instead of having that copper-colored line, that's another sign you might have something unusual. Some collectors even use precise scales and magnifying tools because they know how valuable these rare coins can be if authenticated and graded properly. Condition also plays a massive role. If a coin has remained in excellent shape since the day it was minted, no scratches, no discoloration, no signs of circulation, its market value jumps significantly. Coins that have been graded by professional services and labeled as mint state or near perfect command some of the highest prices. Even without silver, a flawless 1965 quarter with the right error or variety is pure gold in the world of coin collecting, and though mint marks were officially removed starting with the 1965 issue, there were cases where leftover planchets or transitional strikes might still show signs that experts and advanced collectors look for. These subtle anomalies are the key to unlocking the hidden value behind what most people think is just regular change. That's why coin enthusiasts check every detail, down to the rim, lettering, and strike quality, because one overlooked error can turn into a jackpot. People often wonder where coins like this are found. The truth is, they show up in all kinds of places: old jars passed down through families, collections bought at estate sales, mixed change from banks, and even in coin rolls people get to search through. The average person might not notice anything special, but a trained eye or a lucky discovery can make all the difference. That's the thrill of coin hunting. You never know what might be sitting right in your hands. Some 1965 quarters have been discovered struck on leftover silver blanks, and those transitional errors are the ones that make headlines. Imagine a coin that shouldn't even exist becoming the centerpiece of a collector's dream. The rarity, the story, the uniqueness, everything about it makes it incredibly desirable. Even minor minting inconsistencies from this transitional year attract serious attention, and experts will tell you that this is one of the most mysterious and exciting coins of the mid-20th century. Today, we're opening the door to one of the most fascinating years in American coinage, the 1966 Washington quarter. At a glance, you might think it's just another everyday coin, the kind you toss into a parking meter or hand over at a grocery store without a second thought. But what if I told you that hidden among these quarters are rare versions that collectors will pay serious money for? That's exactly what we're exploring today, so stay tuned and pay close attention, because the 1966 Washington quarter has surprises most people never see coming. To understand why this coin stands out, you have to look at what was happening in the United States during the mid-1960s. Just 1 year earlier, in 1965, the country abandoned the long-standing practice of making quarters with silver. For decades, these coins were made with 90% silver, but rising metal prices and hoarding forced the U.S. Mint to switch to a clad composition of copper and nickel. By 1966, the transition was fully underway, and this change would mark the beginning of a brand new era in American coinage, but that's not where the story ends. During this time, the Mint made another major decision: they removed mint marks from coins entirely. From 1965 through 1967, no quarters were supposed to display a mint mark at all. The goal was to reduce panic, discourage collecting from circulation, and make the new clad coins circulate normally. But with big changes like these, mistakes were inevitable. Transitional errors, leftover silver planchets, and odd striking variations are exactly what turn an ordinary-looking 1966 quarter into something incredible. Now, here's where collectors really start to pay attention. While the vast majority of 1966 Washington quarters were struck on copper-nickel planchets with no mint mark, a handful of rare pieces were made differently, some struck on leftover silver blanks from the previous era, others displaying unusual characteristics that weren't meant to appear in circulation. These types of coins, when discovered, grab huge attention in the auction world. Imagine holding a coin in your hand that technically wasn't even supposed to exist. That's the kind of rarity we're talking about. Collectors look for specific signs when hunting for valuable 1966 quarters. One of the biggest clues is weight. A clad quarter from this period weighs about 5.67 grams. A silver transitional quarter will weigh closer to 6.25 grams. That might not sound like much of a difference, but in the world of numismatics, fractions of a gram can mean thousands of dollars. Then there's the edge. Ordinary clad quarters will show a copper-colored stripe along the edge, while a rare silver strike will have a uniform silvery tone around the rim, but condition is just as important. A beautiful, sharp strike with no scratches, dents, discoloration, or circulation wear can jump to a much higher value in the marketplace. Coins graded by professionals and given a high mint state designation often become the stars of collector showcases. And even though mint marks were officially removed, experts still analyze design details, rims, lettering, and possible planchet anomalies to verify whether a 1966 quarter has characteristics that tie it back to a specific mint or leftover material. Some of the most exciting finds come from people who weren't even looking for treasure. Someone going through jars of change, sorting rolls from the bank, or digging through a family coin box might stumble upon something extraordinary without even knowing it. That's the magic of coin collecting. You don't need to be an expert to get lucky, but having the right information can turn luck into fortune. There have also been cases where 1966 quarters have errors in strike, misaligned designs, double dies, or off-metal compositions. These unusual variations make the coin stand out and increase its desirability. Collectors and dealers often say that error coins tell stories about the mint's processes and production struggles of the time. A transitional coin or accidental strike from this period not only carries monetary value, but also holds a piece of American history captured in metal. Even beyond errors and transitional pieces, untouched examples in mint state condition are getting harder to find. Most 1966 quarters were used heavily in everyday commerce, passed from hand to hand, tossed into coin machines, and rubbed down over time. That's why finding a pristine example can feel like discovering a time capsule. The sharper the details, the brighter the luster, the higher the demand. Now picture this: a coin that looks like any other Washington quarter sitting in a drawer, on a shelf, or among old savings, but it weighs differently, shows no copper edge, or has a remarkable error. Someone with a careful eye sends it for authentication and grading, and suddenly that little coin becomes the kind of headline collectors dream about. This is the thrill that keeps people searching, inspecting, weighing, and checking every old quarter that passes through their hands. Today we're turning our attention to a coin that most people have seen thousands of times, but almost no one has looked at closely: the 1990 Washington quarter dollar. You've probably spent one, dropped one in a tip jar, or found one rattling around in the car, but what if I told you that some of the quarters from this year can be worth far more than their face value? Hidden among ordinary change are rare varieties, striking errors, and high-grade coins that can fetch incredible money in the right conditions, and most people don't even realize what they're holding. To understand why this coin holds so much fascination, you need to know a little about what was going on with the United States Mint in 1990. The design still featured George Washington on the obverse and the heraldic eagle on the reverse, just as it had since 1932. However, by this time, millions upon millions of these coins were being struck every year, and mint marks were fully back in use. You'll find quarters from this year with mint marks like P for Philadelphia, D for Denver, and S for San Francisco. While the majority are common, the key to discovering value lies in three major factors: minting errors, special varieties, and exceptional condition. Collectors pay extremely close attention to the quality and detail of 1990 quarters because pristine examples are much harder to find than people think. These coins have been in circulation for over 3 decades, meaning most are scratched, dulled, worn, or damaged by everyday use. A coin that has never been spent, one that still holds its original shine, sharp strike, and flawless surfaces, is already more desirable whether it's from Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. But the real excitement begins when condition meets rarity. One of the most valuable areas within the 1990 quarter series involves errors and striking mistakes that slipped through the minting process. These can include off-center strikes, double die impressions, missing clad layers, broad strikes, rotated dies, clipped planchets, and transitional anomalies. Even minor defects can increase a coin's worth, but dramatic and visually obvious errors command serious attention at auctions and in private sales. Another category that collectors chase is proof coins, especially those minted in San Francisco. Proof quarters are struck with specially polished dies and have a mirror-like finish with frosted details. While most proof coins stay in collector sets, some do end up in circulation or remain forgotten in drawers, boxes, or coin collections that get passed down. A flawless proof quarter from 1990 can surprise even the experts with the price it can bring, especially if it has a unique feature or perfect preservation, but don't overlook business strike coins either. A regular 1990 quarter with an exceptionally high grade, something like mint state 67 or better, can be incredibly valuable because almost none survive that well. This is where professional grading agencies come in. Getting a quarter authenticated and graded can be the difference between spare change and true treasure. The tiniest imperfections, marks, or flaws can change a coin's value dramatically, which is why collectors obsess over luster, strike sharpness, and surface quality. Even the mint mark itself can play a role. While no specific mint mark alone guarantees huge value, certain die varieties from certain mints are known for producing rare errors or specific types of double dies. For example, a misaligned strike from Denver or a missing clad layer from Philadelphia could elevate a coin far beyond its ordinary status. Errors involving the date, lettering, or the edges of the coin always attract serious bidders. What makes all this even more exciting is that many of these coins are still out there in circulation. People find them in pocket change, coin rolls from banks, inherited collections, old jars, and even parking meters. The idea that someone handed away a coin worth hundreds or thousands of dollars without knowing is exactly what keeps collectors searching. It's the thrill of the unknown hiding in plain sight. The 1990 Washington quarter is also from a time just before the U.S. Mint launched the popular state quarter series in 1999. That means these coins belong to the final era of the classic eagle reverse design, which gives them a certain nostalgic value in addition to their numismatic potential. Many collectors love building full sets from the late 20th century, and perfect specimens from this year are becoming harder to secure. Even the edges can tell a story. If the coin has a full reeded rim without excessive wear, if the details of Washington's hair are crisp, if the eagle's feathers are sharply defined, or if the date and mint mark are perfectly struck, you're already looking at something that outperforms an ordinary circulated coin. Pair that with an error or exceptional grade, and you've got a piece that stands out in the entire series. Coins from 1990 have appeared at auctions and price guides with eye-popping values when the right combination of rarity, error, and condition come together. Collectors have paid huge amounts for proven, graded examples, especially those that are unique or nearly impossible to replicate. Stories continue to surface of people discovering overlooked coins in coin rolls or random stashes that end up being authenticated and sold for astonishing prices. Today we're diving into a coin that many people think of as ordinary change but is actually hiding some remarkable secrets, the 1982 Washington quarter dollar. At first glance, it may look like any other quarter you've seen thousands of times, sitting in your pocket, stuck in couch cushions, or tossed into a coin jar. But if you take a closer look, especially at the mint mark and the coin's condition, you might be holding something that could be worth far more than its face value. This is a coin that tells a story of American history, minting transitions, and rare collector discoveries, so stick around, because you're about to uncover its hidden potential. To understand why the 1982 Washington quarter is so interesting, we need to look at what was happening at the United States Mint during that time. The early 1980s were a period of change and innovation in coin production. The Mint was experimenting with new striking techniques, closely monitoring metal prices, and producing coins in record numbers. The Washington quarter, with George Washington's familiar profile on the obverse and the heraldic eagle on the reverse, was already an iconic symbol of U.S. currency, but by 1982, collectors began noticing subtle variations, errors, and unusual strikes that made certain coins stand out from the millions produced that year. One of the most important aspects of the 1982 quarter is the mint mark. Depending on whether it was struck at Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, the coin's rarity and potential value can vary significantly. Collectors often examine the mint mark closely, because some dies produced unique variations or even rare errors that can dramatically increase the value of a coin. Tiny differences in the size, placement, or depth of the mint mark can indicate a rare variety, and experienced numismatists can identify these distinctions quickly. Another factor that makes the 1982 quarter so fascinating is the potential for minting errors. Even in a year when millions of coins were produced, mistakes can happen. Off-center strikes, double dies, missing or weakly struck details, clipped planchets, and even wrong metal compositions occasionally slip through the minting process. These error coins are extremely desirable among collectors because they are unique, often one of a kind, and they tell a story about the production process at the U.S. Mint. Even a small, subtle error can transform an otherwise common coin into a sought-after treasure. Condition is equally crucial when evaluating a 1982 Washington quarter. Most of these coins have been in circulation for decades, exposed to wear, scratches, and discoloration. A quarter that has been well preserved, with sharp details, a clean surface, and original luster intact, is already highly valuable to collectors. When such a coin is paired with a rare mint mark, an unusual strike, or a certified grading from a professional service, its value can increase exponentially. Professional grading adds credibility and trust, ensuring that collectors are confident in the authenticity and quality of the coin. Collectors also pay close attention to the finer details, such as the sharpness of Washington's hair, the clarity of the eagle's feathers, and the precision of the lettering on the rim and edges. These details can distinguish a near-mint coin from one that has been circulated, and subtle differences in the strike can indicate a coin produced under special circumstances or with a transitional die. Coins with perfect edges, no wear on high points, and a fully defined strike are among the most desirable for serious collectors. It's worth noting that many valuable 1982 Washington quarters are still hidden away in circulation, coin collections, and even forgotten boxes in attics or basements. Sometimes these coins are discovered during casual sorting, in rolls purchased from banks, or among inherited collections. The excitement of finding a rare or error coin in everyday change is one of the thrills of coin collecting. The idea that a simple quarter could suddenly become an incredibly valuable piece of history and a significant financial asset. Even though the 1982 quarter may seem like a modern coin, it represents a critical era in the evolution of U.S. coinage. Collectors value these coins not only for potential monetary gain but also as pieces of history that document the minting techniques, metal compositions, and economic conditions of the early 1980s. Holding one of these coins is like holding a snapshot of American history, a small, metal window into the past that has survived decades of circulation, change, and time. Today, We're diving deep into a coin that at first glance might seem ordinary, yet holds a hidden potential that can astonish collectors and coin lovers alike, the 1973 Washington quarter dollar. If you've ever glanced at a stack of quarters and thought they were all the same, this coin is proof that appearances can be deceiving. The 1973 Washington quarter isn't just a piece of change, it's a small slice of American history, with rare varieties and unique minting features that can make it incredibly valuable. So stick around, because we're about to uncover why this coin is more than meets the eye. The year 1973 was a fascinating period in the history of United States coinage. America was still in the midst of the post-war economic expansion, and coinage was becoming more standardized in design, yet subtle differences in minting were creating opportunities for collectors. The Washington quarter, which had been in circulation since 1932, remained a staple of everyday transactions, but as production techniques evolved, some coins from this era ended up with striking variations that are highly sought after today. The 1973 quarters were minted in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, and each mint has its own nuances that collectors carefully examine. What makes this coin truly exciting is its mint mark. Depending on whether it came from Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, the rarity and collector appeal can vary. Experts pay close attention to the mint mark because it can reveal subtle differences in the coin's die, strike, and even composition. Some mint marks from this year have slight anomalies or off-center placements, which are exactly the types of details that elevate a coin from ordinary to extraordinary. Even a minor imperfection in the mint mark can significantly increase a coin's value among dedicated collectors, but mint marks are just the beginning. The 1973 Washington quarter also has a history of fascinating minting errors and variations. Coins with double dies, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or die cracks are extremely desirable because they are rare and often one-of-a-kind. An error coin tells a story about the minting process, the machinery, and the conditions at the U.S. Mint at that time. Collectors are always on the lookout for these anomalies because they make a coin unique and dramatically increase its market value. Condition plays a massive role in determining the worth of a 1973 Washington quarter. While millions of these quarters were circulated, very few have survived in pristine condition. Coins that show no wear, retain their original luster, and have crisp, sharp details are considered highly valuable. Professional grading can certify a coin's condition, which not only adds credibility but also allows collectors to bid confidently on high-value pieces. Even a single flaw can impact the price, so condition is always paramount when evaluating coins from this era. The design itself adds to the appeal. On the obverse, George Washington's profile is a familiar and iconic image, meticulously engraved with fine detail. On the reverse, the heraldic eagle spreads its wings with a shield on its chest, symbolizing strength, freedom, and national pride. The artistry of the 1973 quarter may seem ordinary at first, but when examined closely, the details in Washington's hair, the feathers of the eagle, and the lettering around the rim are incredibly precise, and any variations or unusual characteristics are eagerly sought by collectors. Many of these quarters are still out there waiting to be discovered. Old coin rolls, family collections, drawers, and even coin jars might contain an unrecognized gem. It's not uncommon for collectors to stumble upon a rare or error coin while searching through everyday change. That thrill of discovery is what keeps people hunting for quarters like the 1973 Washington. Even decades after they were minted, these coins continue to surprise and excite collectors with their hidden potential. Experts also note that coins from this period often show small differences in die alignment, striking pressure, and metallic composition. These subtle features can differentiate a common quarter from one that is rare and highly collectible. Even slight imperfections or unique characteristics that went unnoticed at the time of minting can now command incredible prices among collectors who know exactly what to look for. So before you spend or overlook a 1973 Washington quarter, take a moment to inspect it closely. Check the mint mark, look at the edges, examine the detail in the design, and consider its condition. What seems like ordinary pocket change could very well be a rare treasure that has sat unnoticed for decades. The world of coin collecting rewards those who take the time to look carefully, learn about varieties, and understand the story behind each coin. And now, for the moment that makes coin hunters' hearts race, a rare and exceptional 1973 Washington quarter dollar with the right mint mark, strike, and condition has been valued at $85,000.